Hello and good evening. Welcome everybody on today's call. Today with a special guest on this webinar, Ryan Messer from STORH. Hi Ryan, how are you?
I'm great. How you doing, Claudia? Good to see you.
I'm fantastic. A little bit tired from yesterday. Went to a big ball, but hey, you gotta, how did I say, play hard, work hard, or work hard, play hard. Or how's this going?
Hey, someone's got to do it, and
Correct.
best that it's you.
Good. Awesome. Well, great guys to have you on the call, everybody. I know you have seen the headlines, I believe, from this webinar. It's going to be a little bit of a special webinar again. So we're not just talking about the whole presentation. What we're going to do really in this part here is giving you more knowledge on what we, with the STORH project, and of course this polystream plastics to fuel are going to do, why plastics of course is such a big problem, how we can tackle this problem, and of course obviously do good for the environment and good for you and for all of us to use that problem which we have obviously to the advantage. And as you of course you all know, we are living in a stark financial environmental reality. We have this imbalanced global financial system, the crippling wealth concentration, more people getting rich, a bigger group of people getting rich, and a even bigger getting poor, and the middle class sort of disappearing. We have that declining global currency purchasing power. We have the rising government debts everywhere. It's in the talks every day, and this plastic crisis, which is even more in the talks at each and every day. And of course, the high global resource consumption. I mean, we are growing as a population. The world is growing. We need more and more energy. And of course, we're creating more and more plastics. Why? Well, because they're used on a daily basis, and we cannot really live without plastics. That is a fact as well, which we want to get through to you today. As much as we want to use less plastic bags or no-use plastic bags, we still will need plastics. And so why not better find a solution for the plastics we are creating, doing good for the environment, of course, and for the pockets of its people. So what if you could be part of the energy solution, clean up the environment, at the same time boost your income? And this is what we really want to have you interest and get your attention today. Because with and through the Utopian Global ecosystem in partnership, of course, with STORH, and you see the CEO of STORH here on the call, we're providing you a system where you can safeguard your wealth by saving in precious metals, in gold or silver, earning through investment in income producing energy assets via the STORH platform. Ryan, could you just mute yourself? That would be great, thanks. And market our products and services and give you income, of course, a huge lifestyle boost. Everybody wants that. And so this is where really STORH comes in, this great platform, which is really addressing that energy consumption realities we have today. And we cannot just wish them away or think they are going to go away, because they're not. We are growing as a population. We need more food. We need more space to live. That means we need more housing. We need more streets. We need more vehicles to drive, cars, be it, of course, trains or whatsoever. That all requires energy. Okay, all requires energy. And we have a lot of climate activists and lots of things going on, which of course is great. We're all for that. We're all for green energy, but we've got to also see a reality. And so this is where STORH is building that bridge, and of course also generating those returns. And Ryan is industry experts, has 2 decades of experts, and together with his team of really 250 years combined energy market expertise, he basically is offering this great project, and of course for everybody who gets in, who gets the idea, gets the concept, I believe it's going to be a great win-win scenario, because at the end of the day, we need the experts which have the knowledge, which have the technology, which have the know-how, which have everything which is needed. But we also, of course, need to be able to fund it in order then to, of course, make that project happen. And that is so important. If we all care about environment, if we all care about that plastic problem which is out there, which we cannot deny, well, then we better do something, right? So in that project of STORH, obviously we have those three phases, which is the foundation, which is those energy resource projects. We have already one under the belt, and the core infrastructure service-based projects, and of course the high growth mineral development and technology projects. And what we want to talk about now is obviously the core project, the STORH asset core project, that is plastics, and the polystream plastics to fuel. But let's look first, before I get Ryan on board here, explaining a little bit more, look at how big is actually that problem there. Well, currently, of course, the plastic waste problem is huge, and it's a growing environmental problem everywhere in the world, as well as a wasted, of course, resource. So here I'm making a point, it is actually wasted resource. So we have all this plastics going into the oceans, going into the landfills. That could be actually a resource, of course, because it comes from what? It comes from oil. Oil does produce what? Energy. So therefore, the plastic is really a wasted resource. And of course, each day, about 8 million pieces of plastics pollution end up in our oceans. 100,000 marine mammals and turtles and 1 million seabirds are killed actually by that plastic pollution annually. That's a lot of animals. And since the 1950s, we know, that's a data, of course, which is out there, that about 8.3 billion tons of plastic have been produced worldwide. But most of them, they are in the oceans and, of course, in the landfills. A very, very small percentage, it's estimated some 6–7% is actually being recycled. So when you look at here, this, how does it actually go into the ocean? Well, 60% of all plastic pollution in the ocean is estimated to come from land-based pollution. That means beaches, rivers, waters, runoffs, mismanaged landfills, corporate spills, and sewage, of course, make up a majority of that pollutions. In the oceans, and another 40% comes from sea-based pollution, including fishing nets. So you like to eat your fish. I like fish. I know we have lots of vegetarians on the call, which is fine. Some are not, of course. I mean, I like fish and I recognize it. But of course, I don't like the problem that 40% comes from sea-based pollution, including fishing nets, commercial fishing pollution, containers and storage bins lost in sea transit. I don't like that fact, but it is a fact. And of course, why? That's what we got to understand as well. Why is the plastic solution so much worse than other types of pollution? Why is that? Because there's a lots of pollution we always talk about. I mean, especially in Germany, we have all this discussion now about the CO2 and the cars, and if they're older than 6 years, and the diesel and the fuels and whatever and whatnot. But they never talk about the fireworks they produce just on one night in the year. It's actually more going up there to space than basically it is all the car fuels which go out. They never talk about that. But there's other issues now. What we really have to focus here, and what's our project, of course, is here the plastic. So most plastic will last 450 years in most environments, and they don't really ever disappear completely. Where do they land? Well, obviously in our stomach. So instead they break apart into smaller pieces and ever smaller pieces until, of course, they're microscopic. So you don't see it, you only see it under the microscope. And those microscopic pieces, they never fully disintegrate. And ultimately, of course, they end up in the sand, in the ocean, in the wildlife bellies and the fish, of course, which we then end up eating. This is where they, and of course in the animals, because the animals, not just the fish, also the animals, they eat that stuff. So that is a fact which is there. So I can look all day long to eat healthy. All day long, I can worry about eating healthy, and I believe me, I'm eating super healthy. So I'm all about that, from what I put here to what I put to my lips to what I put into my mouth to what water I drink. Like I'm like crazy about that. but I can't be all that crazy. I'm still going to end up with those smaller pieces which you can only see under a microscope. And that is very, very sad. But of course, what we have and what studies have been shown is that the average person, in fact, eats 70,000 microplastics each and every year. And well, I have this picture here with cigarettes. How many people are smoking? How many people are smoking on that call? And I don't want to call you out, so don't get offended. It's just really to put it into a different perspective, okay? We don't want to blame anybody. We don't want to judge anybody. We don't want to do that at all. So don't you worry. But this is a fact. Cigarette butts are made from non-biodegradable cellulose acetate, a form of plastic. And cigarette butts are the one most common form of pollution on beaches, as most users just put a cigarette butts in the sand and they bury them. And cigarette butt pollution leaches toxic chemicals into the sand and water of our beaches that remain polluted for as many as 10 years. And look where they be ended, of course, up. And so those are facts, and we have many facts on plastic bags. We have countries such as Kenya. They banned plastic bags. And we are visiting, because we have an office at Utopian Global in Kenya. We visit Kenya just this year. I think last year, sorry. We have a new year now. We're going to visit Kenya probably very soon this year again. In Kenya, they banned plastic bags. I think they have it even a fine with 4 years prison if they get caught you selling plastic bags. So which is great. So those all are great things. We have, of course, the example on the straw, on the plastic straws we use. Well, they are many times so small, of course, they don't end up really in the plastic bin containers, but they end, of course, anywhere else up. So there's tons and tons of examples we can do around that. So I think by now you should really grasp the idea that plastic is a huge problem, yet we need it on a daily basis. I believe something like 80 to 90 products on a daily basis we use, which use plastic. And this is where Ryan is going to come on board, obviously, and talk about, well, how he, with, of course, his amazing project he has on plan, will actually help all of us, help the environment, help you to, of course, generate great returns. So, Ryan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Claudia. No, I appreciate it. No, those are pretty dramatic points, and but that's the reality that we live in today. I would challenge everyone on this call to just take 5 minutes, walk around your house or your apartment, and just look at all the things that we consume on a daily basis, and a lot of things you don't even recognize, you know, that are made from hydrocarbons or made from oil. Could you live without these things? Well, we could all probably reduce some of the plastic that we use. But remember, going back to the problem that you had on a previous slide, you know, how does most of this plastic end up in the oceans and you know, quite honestly, in landfills? So, you know, a couple of decades ago, we started this whole recycling initiative around the world, and you know, the local governments got involved and got on board and really pushed the recycle. We recycle here. I think most people do. But the fraud in the whole system is that maybe only 20% of the plastics and cardboard and various things that we recycle actually get recycled. Over 80% of that stuff ends up in the landfill, which, you know, takes decades to break back down. And that's tragic from an environmental perspective, but it's also tragic, as you point out in one of your first slides, that we're throwing away energy. We're throwing away products that can be recycled, but can be recycled in a new way. I was watching for those of you who have access to Netflix, I think there's a series called Broken, and it talks about the recycling sham, I think is the name of the one episode. And it talks all about the recycling and the issues with recycling. But what it doesn't mention is that there is another solution. And that solution is what we're engaged in, because we're able to convert that plastic back to usable products. Now, we call it plastic to fuel, we could call it plastic to liquids. We should really just call it plastics to products, because depending on the process that we run, and if we distill it or if we reblend it, it could end up in many different forms. It could end up back as a mid distillate and wax that we can sell back to the plastic industry. If that is the highest value market for us, in markets where there's not great refining capacity, but there's a big demand on diesel, we can convert it and distill it into a low sulfur diesel. So there are many, many things that we could do with the products after taking the plastic and converting it back to hydrocarbons or oils. There are other products too. I don't really want to get into the details, but those are the main ones that we'll focus on. But what makes us uniquely positioned? Because, you know, if you go digging around the internet, you can find other companies that do the same thing. They'll recycle. And look, we're looking to partner with some of these companies. They'll end up being our partners because our industry is very, I'll use the word incestuous, because in some ways we partner and do business with them, but in other areas we're competitors. And it's perfectly acceptable in our industry to do that. And that's just how we all work together. And that provides the complexity of our supply chain. So the directors of our company have been in the oil and gas business, at least the executives have, for a couple of decades now. And we're in the process of blending fuels and oils. We do it on a daily basis. And so we know that business intimately. And this is a part of the business that is overlooked when people are out there now promoting plastics to fuel process. This is a big part, and this midstream sector here that you have on your slide is where we play, is where, you know, I spent nearly probably the last 15, 16 years on the upstream E&P side. So that's production, that's operations, that's exploiting minerals and exploration. But now our main focus is on midstream. So that's all logistics and transportation, marketing, and processing and blending. And we do that for the refineries or for our downstream markets, depending on what that is. And it could be a plastic manufacturer. And so what we do is we basically upgrade products. And this is where this is our main differentiator. This is where we are going to add value and increase our margins in this particular business. Because a lot of these companies cannot make money just simply converting plastics back to oil. It sounds great, but it doesn't mean that it's going to make money for these companies. And so this is how we do it, because we know that everything that we do on the midstream side is on a fixed margin basis. So what does that mean? That means we take very little to no risk. So when we do a transaction, we know we're buying it at X, and we know we're going to be selling it at 1.5X or 1.2 or 2 times X. And so we know we can build in our margins, and on that particular transaction, we know we're going to make money. And that's exactly what we're going to integrate here to our plastics to fuel process that we call Polystream. And so with that, we build out some infrastructure, which we talk about in our strategy slide, whereby we can take other products in, so we have multiple revenue streams. It's not purely, our business is not purely converting plastics to oil. It's converting plastics to diesels and doing blending there. It's converting plastics to oils and doing blending there, depending on the particular market where our sites will be. So we are currently in our, I suppose, our feasibility phase now. So we're doing a tremendous amount of research. We're building on our team. We're evaluating technologies. And so that's where our focus is now, to focus on our first site that we're planning on building out here in the United States, and then quickly moving our focus to Europe and other countries that can certainly use the technology.
Thank you, Ryan. That was really good insights, and I think very, very important for people to understand, because very often they get, again, too confused with just converting plastics to fuel. It's not only what we do. So very good insights there. Now, I get a lot of questions from people around that, and of course, you said it a little bit. So we are right now in the starting phase. So we are right now in the evaluating of it. You have all the experience, but of course we cannot do it basically without you, because we need all of the people on the call. We need all the people to really get on board with it. Why? Well, because well, you all helping the problems, but we need to raise the funds in order to make it happen. So because there's so much more to it. How will we make it happen? Obviously by more people sharing, of course, your ideas, your mission, which you have for that project, and which is big. And we have here a 250 years experience combined team together. We have basically everything. And the first one would not be like we have people, you know, from Africa, so many people do it there. But the project really is first starting off in the US, because this is where you maybe want to touch on this a little bit more, are strategically positioned with all your experience over those many decades.
Sure, the US has great infrastructure, and this is where we do 95% of our business is in the US, because again, there's tremendous amount of infrastructure. It's easy to move product around. This is where most of our relationships are from a downstream or even an upstream perspective, because we have to partner on both sides. But so this is where we want to prove our strategy, prove, you know, our directive. And so we're going to do it here in the US first, but we are also starting to work in other markets. So we're already starting to do some research in other markets and determining, you know, where would be the best place to put site number 2 and 3 and 4, you know, around the world. Because again, you have to have partnerships, you have to have infrastructure. You know, we understand that plastics get deposited on beaches all around the world, but you have to have the infrastructure to be able to move and consolidate and aggregate that bulk product to a point where you can feed one of these systems, because some of these systems can process 20 to 50 tons of material a day. And the worst thing in the world to do is to build the facility and not have the infrastructure to get the product into the machine to convert it to these oils. Because again, it takes money to operate these sites. So we want to make sure we have the infrastructure. So what we're doing, and you'll see an announcement on this very, very soon, we're partnering, and you mentioned rivers and waterways. There are technology companies out there working with local governments. There are ocean cleaning companies that are working with the major bottlers and with local government and federal governments around the world that already have these partnerships. And so we're looking to partner with them to get access to these companies. I'm talking about Coca-Cola and Nestle, and you know, you name the governments that have these issues, whereby they can capture this product, and we can work on ways to build infrastructure and collect these plastics so they don't end up in landfills. Because it's one thing to pull them back out of the oceans. That's a great thing that we're doing. We have to do it. We have to stop it from getting into the oceans, and then we have to stop it from going into landfills. Because when we process plastic and we create a ton of fuel or oil that can be consumed by the market and generate profits for our shareholders, we're also reducing 2.5 tons of carbon emissions. Because remember, for every barrel of oil that we convert plastics to, that's a barrel of oil that does not have to come out of Mother Earth. And so we're very much on board with that. I mean, here I am, 20 years in this business, in traditional oil producing business, and we produce oil still today, but I want to be a part of the solution as well. We'll always produce oil as long as there's oil in the ground, but if we can reduce that impact, and if we can reduce the impact on our environment and the oceans and recycle in a more sustainable and circular fashion, which is what we're doing here. This is about the circular economy. So how do we get that plastic back into the market and make money from it? Because it has value. And so that is our mission. And that's what we're focused on. So hope that helps explain.
Very good, especially when you pointed out for every barrel of oil basically produced today. This is a big thing for really people need to get it in their heads, in their minds. So it's a very, very big statement. I hear that some people asking me about that, you know, more often. So because this is really, they never thought about that. So it's really great. Now we are on a great mission here. And again, as you pointed out, you, with your expertise, you need to make relationships, partnerships, and that's what you're going to do form. Well, this is what we are doing here through Utopian Global. We are basically a community of people who want to do a difference, make a difference, and we are spreading the word out there in the world, and of course raising the funds in order that you can do your work, which you do so wonderfully, and of course that it all benefits everybody, the environment. And this is really why I'm very passionate about that. I know we started off, of course, with oil and gas, with a foundation, and which is really great. And you explained that we need it. We have it on a daily basis. But of course, all about our passion, our mission, our vision is about a circular economy. It's about making a change, making a difference, really doing something. And we know, and you explained it also very well, that just plastic recycling as such is not yet as sustainable as, of course, it is may sometimes projected, correct?
Yeah, that's right. You bring up a really good point too. It just kind of made me think there for a second. How many causes can you get behind that are as powerful as this? Because it takes money to support a cause, right? It takes time. We only have so much time in the day and in our lives. So how are we going to spend our time? How many of us go out and stand on the street with signs and promote a cause? Well, there's not much money in that. This is one that you can get behind, where you can actually increase your income and do great for the environment as well. And that's why we love it, because this is a for-profit mission, but it's also for the environment, and it's for our future. It's for our children's future. So this is one that we do need the team. We do need the people. We do need people to share the word. And so we hope you get on board. We hope that you share the message, because it's a powerful one.
Absolutely. Well, with that, Ryan, I don't want to hold up your time. I know you have to go out and meet a lot of people, don't you?
We are busy, so but thanks for your time. It's always great to be on these calls, and let me know how I can help.
Yeah, fantastic. So I hope that you got a little bit of an understanding today, really about that polystream plastics to fuel midstream business. In further webinars, we're going to dig for those listeners who wish more into the midstream, explaining and more so into depth. So we're going to do all those great webinars for you to, well, get you educated, that you get a different perspective of things which you may had a different thought to. So this is really what we want to do, because at the end of the day, as better educated we are, as of course we more can get behind the project, and as more will be able to share the message, and of course as quicker we're gonna raise the funds, and as quicker you're gonna do of course what you aim to do. So thank you, Ryan. It was really great to have you on the call, and I'm just gonna close this out here. Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And I'm just going to close this out here, the webinar, which showing our listeners on the packages they can get involved in with Utopian Global, and of course show quickly the plan, of course, the roadmap where we have been. So we have been, obviously, we launched it in a pre-launch, the store. Why? Well, because obviously to raise funds so that we can get the project started. From there, we have gone a long way. And of course, we have a long way still to go in order to make this project happening with the polystream plastics to fill. So this is a fact, and of course, as you see here, once we started the project, people could get in, obviously, because it was more riskier than it is now, with a lower money. And of course, now that we have, of course, the first assets under the belt, such as the oil and gas assets in Texas, and now starting, of course, for the polystream, obviously, these prices of the store have risen, and of course, we aim, and that's the aim, we aim to launch, once we launch on an exchange, with a €4 price, but again, this is all due to a suspect to that we do all days project, and then of course to the market valuation. So how can you now choose your entry point with us to come on board, and of course to help us work this project? Well, there's two different ways. There's one, you could become a customer, you can become a promoter, affiliate, independent business owner, and sharing the products and services which we have. And remember, STORH is an amazing project. We also have the gold or silver, we have the education, so we have a whole package. But to get in, we have right now a special offer. That's a special bonus offer from 390 euros onwards. That is your basically package which you select, or which you would select in the best case scenario with a bonus. So be it the 390, 790, 1,500 or 3,500. We also have the other packages. They all contain STORH. So they all contain STORH, and of course that STORH eventually, when we launch it on an exchange, is that you can either sell it and of course hopefully make a multiple on it, or that of course you get your distributions from the production of these assets, which we believe that we can estimate to start this year in July with paying them, because right now, as many of your listeners know, from the first assets we have been reinvesting. So those are the packages for to come on, and we have of course some higher packages. We call them the quantum packages for the investor. They starting from 9K to up to whatever somebody wants to put in, and of course you get more value, which is clear because you're going to get more STORH basically as higher the package is. So let's look at the potentials earnings which you could do based on, of course, when we fulfill all that timeline which we had put out there. And of course we know also timelines do vary, so you got to understand this is based on all projects, and sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes quicker, so that's just the case. We can just project a certain thing, and then of course whenever it comes out, right? So the possible outcome, as you see here, let's say you got in with a 390 package. Well, you buy the 390, you get a certain amount of days STORH, and if you were able to sell them, of course, at a full euro price, that would be a 2,964 euros basically from the 390, because obviously now your STORH is actually worth so much if you sell it at 4 euros. So this is a kind of amazing, great, crazy returns or outcomes, scenarios which could happen. Of course, we know definitely for sure that and of course with STORH we already own an asset, so we already have an asset. It's there, it's producing every day, so which is really great, which we have achieved that. But of course with all the other projects, well, if they're all basically fulfilled, satisfied, then we're certainly gonna see something great here for the people who are initially putting money in towards that amazing course. And so of course, as more money obviously you put in, as basically more STORH you get, well, as more your outcome will be once you sell them on an exchange. But again, this is up to you. Like if you want to get your investment back, or if you rather prefer to have your distributions paid, and of course, as long as these assets produce. So this is my case scenario. I like to have and build a solid, long-term, stable income from those income-producing assets. That's why we talk about income-producing assets all the time, because they produce income. Plastics, I don't think it's going to go away, as you heard Ryan tomorrow. We have this problem, we have a solution. There will be oil still produced. That oil will be still converted into plastic, meaning new plastic is going to come to the market all the time, more than ever, because the rate of plastics being used and introduced into the market is ever greater than it was before. Why? Well, because the population is growing. So that means, of course, we have a very, very long-term project here just with that project. But of course, we do know the asset in the oil and gas, which we already built and already purchased, is actually an asset which is going to pay something like 30 years plus, because so much oil is in the ground. So basically, this is what I wanted to show you today about plastics, plastics to fuel, plastics to energy, better to say. And well, we hope that you join our mission, or at least request the STORH white paper, read more, ask for more detail, of course, on that compensation plan, or contact the person who did actually invite you to this presentation. And Brian said, I need one of those hats to go with my shirt. Okay, so yes, you certainly do. I know you have a great shirt, Brian, there from Norway. But yes, so if you're ready to join, well, you're welcome, of course, to join our community of like-minded people, and understand that STORH as yet is not be able to be sold in the United States. It's also important. And of course, you have into your entry in Utopian Global, if you decide to become an affiliate or a independent business owner, you have a 40-day money back guarantee. So that is also covered there. And other than that, well, I hope that you really got better understanding today, that you join our mission, real assets, real income, real lifestyle with Utopian Global. And I hope that you check out, of course, the website, the videos, and follow us on YouTube, on our Twitter channel, on our Instagram channel, and certainly in our Facebook channel. So with that, thank you again, Ryan. Thank you all the listeners, and see you on the next presentation next Tuesday. Thank you.